Kia ora and welcome back to week 4. Alright, so we're up to lesson 4 now. Hopefully you've done your homework and you've gone through stuff. If you haven't, please just go back and do it. Now just pause this one, just leave it for a week, go back and do the other weeks, right? Make sure you've got week 1, 2 and 3 done. These are all done specifically in the sequence because it needs to happen in that process for the maximal kind of benefit for you. So if you really want to get the most out of this, and I hope you do, please do them in order and do them in a sequential fashion, and because you will get the most benefit from it. So the first week was all about what does good health and well-being mean to you, specifically for you. All right, so we've done that one. You came up with some good ideas. You went deep on that. Second thing was to understand what things are important to you in your life, why are those things so important, who is important, and to get really clear and deep on why these things are important, giving us a really good structure, a good foundation to this goal. And we come up with a goal as well, right? A specific goal for you and your number one health and well-being goal for X period of time, whatever that might be. Might be for this year, might be for the next 3 years, might even be for half of the year, or might even be for 3 months, right? For the 90 days. Whatever it is, you've got a goal. It's a specific goal for you. It's got foundation to it. It's got background to it. It's got linkages to who the important people are and what the important things are to you in life. It's also got depth to it because we know why those things are important to you, right? And it's also got now an understanding of how we'll measure it. Okay, so last week we talked about getting a baseline so that we can now measure our progress in this goal. Okay, here's a really important thing that I've learned from my coach, a strategic coach. When we do the vision kind of stuff, right? When we're doing the visioning and kind of goal setting and in our minds, setting that goal, that needs to be forward focused, right? We look out forward, out to the future. We make our goals and we set our vision. When we measure, we need to go back, right? We need to look back to measure progress. So we've got to know clearly what our baseline is, where we currently are. So I asked you last week to think about and to write down things about what do you notice by doing this kind of zoom out thing. What do you notice about what you're saying about yourself as it relates to that goal? What behaviors you currently have as it relates to that goal? And what environments do you find yourself in that are either helping or hindering that goal? Okay, so saying, words, doing, our behaviors, and environments. Okay, so those are the key areas that I asked you to have a think about last week as it relates to your specific goal. So, coming into this week, lesson 4, week 4, we're going to think now about, we'll give you a little bit of understanding about how we get stuck in patterns, right? We get locked into certain patterns, and you will no doubt realize, and the more of this kind of zoom out thing that you do, the more you realize that there are patterns that we continue that are usually not good for us. Right? And it's when you recognize those patterns and become aware of them that you have the power to change them. If you are not aware of them, you will just continue to do them and cycle around doing them over and over again, knowing no better and continuing to do the same and wondering why you continue to get the same results even though you've tried so many goals, done so many different things, read so many books, watched all the YouTube videos, done so many things before, and wonder why you are not progressing. Because you are stuck in a pattern and a cycle that you are unaware of. So this lesson is super important because it's all about understanding that you are and I am stuck in habits and cycles and patterns that we are sometimes unaware of that are hindering our progression and prevent us from achieving our goals. When you understand that principle, when you understand that you are stuck in those things and that you are where you are now because of these patterns, behaviors and cycles that you've been doing for so long, right? That you've chosen to continue doing, right? When you realize that and understand that principle that you are where you are now because of all the things that you have chosen to do before in the past, that is the moment of you beginning to change your life and becoming empowered to change your life. Because once you accept 100% responsibility for where you are right now and know that you are responsible for where you are now because of everything that you've chosen to do in the past, now you also have the ability and power to change it and change everything that comes in the future. All right, so this is a critical moment in time for you. You've done goals before, I know. You've set goals before, I know. Right? You've done all of these other books, you've read motivational stuff, you've done probably courses and done so many things before. Yet you probably haven't achieved as many things as you wanted to, or haven't really noticed as much the progress that you wanted to. That's because you're stuck in these cycles. You need to accept and come to a point where you can accept and take 100% responsibility for everything that's happened before that has landed you where you are right now. You are 100% responsible for where you are now. No one else, no other event, no other circumstance. Sure, things happen in our lives. Yes, I understand that. How we respond is completely our choice. All right, so you, 100% responsible. As soon as you take that responsibility on 100%, you are now empowered to change what happens in the future. All right, and that begins by becoming aware and understanding where you are right now. So, awareness of where you are right now. So, we did that last week. We're trying to get you a little bit kind of aware of what it is you're saying and doing and behaving. Now I want you to become more aware of the patterns, the general patterns in your life that you've continued to do, the way that you've continued to respond in situations throughout your life. Right? I want you to become more aware of those. So, normally when we get stuck in, I want you to think of these particular situations. When you're stuck, when you are feeling either stressed or had a stressful, negative or traumatic situation. All right, I want you to think about those, any situation, just pick one in life that was negative, traumatic or stressful. All right, because these situations normally show us, can show us some of the patterns that we're stuck in. Think of a situation like that. Right, now, normally these situations don't come about randomly, right? They've come about because of a reason, right? Something, some or many things that have happened that have brought about X circumstance, right? For whatever reason. And they're an opportunity for us to learn. Okay, so stressful, negative, traumatic situation, right? Usually there are behaviors that we keep on doing that end us up in those situations, okay? Circumstances that we don't really want. All right, so there's some behaviors. I want you to think about what possibly could have been some contributing behaviors of mine that have led me or that have ended me up in situations that I didn't want to be in. Okay, all right, so then that's the behaviors. There's patterns, behavioral patterns that we keep doing. Ways, for example, that I continue to respond to my kids. Let's say that my kids, which this is a common experience for me, my kids, they might be fighting or it starts off as play but it becomes fighting, or just kind of arguing with each other, or to us as parents, or kind of fighting back with us or themselves or each other. That stuff, that kind of contention happens all the time. All right, and that can become stressful over time, especially if you're hearing it all day, every day. It can become stressful, and it's a negative environment. It's not great. And so how I respond to that, right, is up to me. Right? The kids could be fighting, or they could be kind of arguing back to me or whatever, or just, it could be some stuff going on. How I choose to respond to those things is completely up to me. All right, the more aware I am of that, the way, if I change how I respond in those situations, it means that those situations have to change. But I'll be stuck in some patterns, no doubt. There are patterns that I'm stuck in. And usually those patterns have come from where I've learned about how to deal with those things, right? How do we deal with the kids? Well, I've learned that from my parents or my family or others that have brought me up, right? That's where I would have learned those same patterns from. So I've continued them on. Excuse me. And so it's becoming aware of what are the patterns that I'm actually doing that I'm putting in place, right? That sometimes end me up in more and more stressful situations, all right? So identify what are the behavioral patterns. Then it's about, well, there's probably also some thinking patterns that get me stuck into those behavioral patterns, right? So then think about what are the thinking patterns that I get stuck in, right? Do I keep thinking, let's use for example, my daughter. She's fiery, and she can kind of she gives it back to us plenty of times, and she can, thing up with the other kids, the brothers and sisters, and have a go at all of them. And so how we respond to her has changed over time, because we tried to fight fire with fire. That obviously didn't work. That's not great. And that didn't work for many years, but yet we continued the pattern. My wife and I would just continue doing the same pattern. It took a long time before we realized that actually we need to do something different with this one than we do with the other ones. And we tried a few different things, writing things down. We tried to get her when she was becoming upset. We'd go, oh, can you go write down in a book and communicate to us via that method what it is that you're kind of dealing with. So we did that kind of stuff sometimes. We also tried, we need to get down to her level, right? So we'd bring ourselves down to be able to talk to her at her level and try and have a calm conversation. What else have we tried? We tried to change our pattern. I mean, that's a new pattern. We tried to put that one in place. We've also tried to do, when we see that, when we can see that that's things are not going well, she's becoming angry and frustrated, we'll go and give her a hug. So physical contact with her, to embrace her, to help her feel safe again quickly, seems to really make a difference for her. But what prevents me, or what would prevent me from going to do that pattern straight away, even though I know it works, is my thinking process, right? I can get stuck in a thinking pattern which says, why should I go and do that? She's the one that's caused the trouble with her sibling or with the mum or with me. Why do I need to go and do that? And then I get stuck in this thinking cycle which prevents me doing possibly a better behavior cycle, and so I'll continue doing the old behavior cycle, right? If that makes sense. I'll get stuck in a thinking pattern. So there are thinking patterns that we get stuck in that keep us stuck in the old patterns of behavior that we don't want, that keep getting us the same situation. Okay, so there's a couple: behavioral patterns, thinking patterns. Now there's also one other one: feeling patterns, the way that I feel about a situation. So I'll use that exact same situation with our daughter. I'll get stuck in that thinking pattern because my feeling is something like, I might be angry, I might be frustrated. If I'm angry and frustrated that she's doing that and she keeps doing that, then my thinking pattern is, why does she keep doing that? She shouldn't be doing that. I need to do something about it, and then I'll go do this old pattern of behavior that ends up fighting fire with fire, and that's not great. But I keep doing it because way back over here, I still feel frustrated and angry that she's doing that. Does it make sense? So I can get stuck in feeling patterns, which lead me to get stuck in thinking patterns, which then get me stuck in behavioral patterns, and I end up doing the same thing, even though I know it's not the best thing to do, even though I know there's a better way. You may have experienced something similar in whatever area of your own life, right? So we get stuck in feeling patterns, stuck in thinking patterns, stuck in these behavioral patterns, and then stuck in the same situations, and we're like, what the heck's going on? So these are some key patterns we get stuck in. So I want you to notice now. So this week was all about zoom out and notice, what are some of the feeling patterns? What are some of the thinking patterns? What are some of the behavioral patterns that you get stuck in, right, in different situations? The other thing I want you to do this week, I know it's kind of a busy week, but this week, there's another important thing to do this week, is to think about, you've got that goal now, is to have a little bit of a brainstorm about this. If I did not do anything about this goal, so I've written this goal, it's a commitment to myself. If I do nothing, what happens after 1 year? Right, write that down. If I do nothing, keep doing nothing, for another 5 years, where do I end up? So after 1 year of not doing it, not sticking to my commitment, what does it look like in 1 year? What does it look like for me, for the people around me, and for my goal? All right, then do 5 years. What does it look like for me in 5 years if I do nothing about this goal? Me, people around me, and what kind of results I think will happen. Do it again for like 15 years, right? 20 years. Go to 20 years. So 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Go all the way out and go be specific about it. So it's like 2019 now. So in 20 years, 2039, and I did nothing for that 20 years around this goal, where do I think I'll be? Myself, people around me, results. Okay? Do this exercise, it's really important. Then go the other way, right? And go, okay, if I've got this goal here now that I've got in front of me, great structure, everything, it's awesome, great goal, specific, all that. if I do this goal, keep this one commitment to myself, these things, if I do it for 1 year, where do I end up after doing it for 1 year consistently? What does that look like? Me, people around me, results. If I keep doing it for 5 years, what does that look like? 10, 15, 20, right? For each of those, write out what does that look like for you, for people around you, and the results that you believe will happen, right? Then you're no longer making a decision between today and tomorrow. You're making a decision between me in 20 years if I do it, me in 20 years if I don't do it, right? And those are going to be really contrasting, and you're going to go, yeah, which one should I choose? Pretty obvious, right? But we need this kind of thing because some of us are geared to avoid pain. Lots of us, in fact, they say around 80% of us are geared towards avoiding pain. So we need to know exactly what all that pain looks like. Some of us are motivated to increase the gain, right? Or increase happiness. So we need to know what that looks like as well. What does all this positive stuff look like? But also, what does all this negative look like? Then we make a really good choice between the both of them, especially if we've built it out far enough. We can see, contrasting, which one's the most important thing, or what's the best decision for me right now. All right, so that's the other thing I want you to do this week. Think about doing that. No, don't think about doing it. Do it, and then add some thinking to it once you've done it. Okay? So write it out, do all that, and then look at them and go, okay, and then think about where can you put this? What way can you display this to yourself? How can you visually see this stuff more often so that it becomes embedded into your psyche, into your subconscious, that actually these are the things I'm working towards, right? These are the things I want to achieve 5, 10, 15. This is what if I stick to my goal, this is what it could be like. If I don't stick to my goal, this is what it could be like. Not great. So those are the things I want you to do this week. That's plenty for me talking on here. I want you to go away and start getting into that lesson number 4, and get into those fun sheets, write down some more of the stuff, go over this video again because there's some really key stuff that I want you to take out of this video. Please go over it again if you need to. In fact, I'd recommend you do anyway because something else will stand out for you. All right, catch up.